Hi, welcome to Mindful Living, the Power of Now. I am your host, Dr. Claire Musselman, and this is part of the Inspired series through Bloom, refueling your soul to ignite the fire that is your life. And today we are here to talk about the power of now and being mindful and understanding where you are at in this present moment. So, something I want you to think about is how are you feeling in this moment? I want you to think about being when we are present here today. I want you to think about how do you feel? Think about your five senses and really focus on can you feel your feet planted into the floor? What sense do you smell? What can you see right now? What are you hearing? Is it just me? Are there any distractions? Things to think about. I'm looking forward to how our session is going to go today. This is going to be fun. So, welcome and join me. So, today I want you to start with your feet about hip width apart, seated, or if you want to go ahead and stand, please do so and join me. I want you to roll your shoulders up, back, and down and keep your chest open. And if you want, go ahead and close your eyes. I want you to take a big, deep breath in through your nose and exhale out through your mouth. And I want you to do one more conscious breath in and exhale. And go ahead and open your eyes, roll your shoulders back and down. Feel those feet planted into the floor. And I want you to just think for a moment. What does being present mean to you? What does it mean to you? So for me, being present means intention. It is very intentionally based of focus and focus of my attention, focus of my surroundings, paying attention to exactly what I need to, and really blocking out all those other factors that might be impacting me or influencing me throughout life, frankly. And today I want you to set an intention with me, at least for this next about hour that we're going to spend together. And I want you to think about we're going to actively slow down for a little bit so that we can show up for the rest of the elements that exist within our life. So let's get to it. So, why on earth are we talking about mindfulness and being mindful and the power of now? Okay, so let's remember neuroscience supports this. So, our brains, as much as we want to say they can multitask, I am very sorry to share that we can do one task at one intentional task at a time. So this means you can continue to keep breathing, your heart's going to continue to pump. But when we are trying to be cognitively able or functioning throughout whatever we're doing, maybe we're trying to check email and listen to someone, we're actively only able to focus on one element at a time. So when we think about this, it helps us if we are intentionally focused. A lot of times we'll notice that we get into this sense of flow where we're not necessarily paying attention to how much time has passed, but also we can really feel ourselves being engulfed into whatever we're working on. So if we can shut off the distractions on our phones and really hone into whatever task we're working on, we can be very mindful and intentional with that in order to have our focus done. We make less errors throughout that process. There's a lot of benefits to doing it in this capacity. We're also not code switching is what I like to call it, where we're trying to switch off from, okay, I'm really into writing this email to a group of people, or now I'm going to go back and work on this PowerPoint presentation, or I'm going to sit in on this meeting that I know I need to be paying somewhat attention to, but I really want to work on this PowerPoint instead. And so when we start to switch those different lenses, it takes our brain a little bit of time to react and flip between these two. So, some of the benefits that exist when we are mindful and in the moment and paying attention to what is going on within this direct line of sight is that we actually have some enhanced clarity. We are really focused on what is at hand, whether it be the person we're experiencing, the person we are spending time with, or the content in a meeting. It helps us create some lower anxiety because we only have to focus on what is in front of us. Now, on average, people have about seven other balls in the air at a given time. And so when we try and multitask at the same time, or we're focusing on other elements, such as like your phone or emails popping up or whatever that might look like, it makes it a lot harder for us to keep those seven balls in the air and whatever else is getting thrown at us. So if we can be much more intentional with our time by blocking it out, using what we need within that moment, it can actually help us reduce some of that anxiety and create some greater joy. And by being mindful and present physically, emotionally, and cognitively, this helps us enjoy the experience of whatever is going on. So when we start to live in the now, we unlock this magic that we're often way too busy to notice. If you ever think about going on autopilot in your life, oh, all right, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Actually, let's go into it now. Autopilot. Anyone ever felt like you have been living in autopilot? Oh my gosh, it's like where you're just continuously going through the motions without ever even realizing what's going on. Now, we can go through this like days on days on days on end. And fascinatingly enough, I can tell I haven't had enough coffee today. Fascinatingly enough, we can be doing this for weeks, months, even years at a time without waking ourselves up and being intentional with what we are bringing to the table, what we are doing, what are we actually physically, mentally, and emotionally present for. This autopilot is going from one thing to the next and just getting into this flow, but not ever really existing along that space. So think about common multitasking where you're doing a couple of things at the same time, but none of them are being done extraordinarily well, but you're getting them all done. I mean, that we will get things done. That is something that we tend to do. Get them done, move on, next. But we're not exceptionally doing something with all of our effort, all of our support, all of our resources to be proud of what's being achieved. It's just getting it done. Sometimes we live with a lot of anxiety about what's coming, what's not. Anxiety exists when we are not physically present. Either we're unsure about the future, worried about the past. There's this continuum that exists instead of just being right here in the here and now. We can also feel disconnected where we're physically here in our body, but the mind is somewhere else, whether it's thinking about what's coming next, maybe one of those seven balls in the air. There's a lot of other things that can come into play. So again, body can be physically present and we are there in autopilot, just going through the motions. We've heard people talk about this. We're just going through the motions. And then we can have some memory gaps where you kind of like black out and don't remember what you've done for the day. You're like, oh yeah, I was busy all day. And you can't really recall the specifics that made up your day because we weren't really physically present. We were just on autopilot. And so I want you to help break some of those neural pathways right now. And I want you to be aware. First of all, understand that it happens to all of us. We all go on autopilot from time to time. It can be emotionally driven, it can be traumatically induced. There are reasons that we might go into autopilot where it's kind of a survival mode. If you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or just kind of some of those survival mechanisms where depending on what's going on in your life, what psychosocial issues you have going on, this just might be how you need to get through the next few days, the next couple of weeks. Maybe somebody passed away. Maybe you're trying to take on a lot of other things as a result of something significant happening. Sometimes our life goes into autopilot to put us into a protection mechanism. It does happen to all of us. And also, you are responsible to wake yourself up. So let's think about the now as this beautiful element of how we show up. And so, if we've been on autopilot, what's actually happening? So, sometimes we go on autopilot due to overstimulation. Well, if you think about how many thoughts we have per day, we have a lot. We have a lot of thoughts, and we repeat a lot of the same thoughts, or we'll repeat them in a way that is heard differently by our bodies. Remember, your cells are always listening. So we have all of these thoughts going on a uh, regular basis. And then we have this DMN activity where we've got some mind wandering and some rumination. We tend to go to the worst case scenario. Our body goes into this risk management, what I would like to say. Our amygdala takes over when we start to get stressed or starting to feel some anxiety, and it produces cortisol and some adrenaline, and it puts us in this fight, flight, freeze mentality. Well, when we're operating on autopilot, a lot of times our mind will wander, and it's not going to wander to productive, proof pointed items. It's going to wander into, well, I wonder if this, and we'll start to ruminate on it. Well, When we are chronically busy and not bringing ourselves back into the present moment, completing stress cycles, things along those lines, we end up having higher levels of cortisol that end up making our new levels of baseline a little bit higher. So if you are chronically busy, which by the way, busy is the new fine, we use this word all the time, your average baseline of cortisol ends up being a lot higher than what it was. And so we want to have check ins. We want to be aware that this exists and figure out how we can combat this. And also, self awareness is the first key. Like, how often are you on autopilot? It might be a couple moments throughout the day. It might be you've been on autopilot for a long time. So consider this your wake up call if you have been. So intentionally slowing down isn't lazy or you having a lack of effort. What it is actual neurological liberation. And sometimes we have to pull back and really let our bodies level set, reestablish some new healthy boundaries and move forward. I can tell you guys, I am absolutely prepping to bring my cortisol and adrenaline levels down. I'm going to take a few weeks and then really focus on trying to up my neurotransmitters surrounding dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and oxytocin. We have to be intentional with this, the power of now, the power of being present, and what we do. This is a self-awareness component. And then what do you do with it from a self-regulation or a self-management stance? So this is where we look at our own emotional intelligence and how we treat ourselves. How are you showing up? What are you doing? What's this? What is this multitasking doing? This chronic busyness? How is that impacting you? And if we look at resting heart rates, we start to look at blood pressure. There's a lot of factors that can be impacted by this. And at what point can you take a big red flag and say, okay, how do I need to show up differently? Do you want to show up differently? Sometimes we get tired. Sometimes we hit burnout. When you're starting to hit burnout repeatedly, you can't fluctuate between achievement and burnout. That continuum can be pretty polarizing. So, how do you start to really decrease the stimulation that your brain is getting and start to give yourself the ability to level set and restore for what comes next? So, let's think about this for a moment. Presence can be an unbelievable power tool for your nervous system. So, we have our decision making center in our brain that drives human behavior is focused around our emotional response. So when we are looking at our emotional regulation, so again, taking it back to our emotional intelligence, where we've got self-awareness, self-regulation, or self-management, bing, 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 we want to pay attention to this. How are we utilizing our emotional regulation and managing that accordingly for the specific situations? When we are overstimulated and burned out, or feeling that we are not fully present, we aren't able to manage that in a way that is productive and proactive for the situation at hand. We want to be proactive in our responses, kind of estimating what's coming next. And if it's going to be something that's going to elicit an emotional response from us, we want to be able to figure out how do we break that so that we don't elicit that response from ourselves. So this is where we start to look at how do I respond appropriately versus reacting from an emotional capacity. So things like could be topics, it could be comments, you name it. If you are well rested, well nourished, doing well from a movement standpoint, life is going pretty well, and you are physically here in this moment to pay attention to what is being said, the vocalics around it, and that other person's body language, you can pay attention to what you're going to feel in your own body and what you need to do in that response component. Paying attention to people's body language is huge. You also, for a clear thought, being present is imperative. So, first of all, our brain functions really well when we're well hydrated. So, if you haven't had your water today, make sure you go ahead and grab some. But our clarity of thought around focused attention is how fast we are connecting points to render decisions and then articulate them out. When we have multitasks going on in our brain and we've got more than those seven balls in the air, we're going to see some glitches. If anyone's ever seen Wreck-It Ralph, when they start to glitch, that's what I like to think of for this. We don't have clear thought because we've got multiple things going at the same time. And so our brain is trying to switch back and forth, and that can create a glitch around your attention and the decisions that you are rendering. So when we start to look at how do we rewire our brain, how do we start to get everything functioning in a way that is smooth and we are making quick decisions with a lot of good proof points and we're making the best decisions that we possibly can. We do that from a sense of presence, based upon all this information that I can take in at this moment. I believe that the next decision we need to make is X because whatever you're going to draw yourself and your attention to. With the present moment, using your power tool, using this presence can really help you identify quickly what do you need in those moments? What are the proof points that you're looking for, and how quickly can you file through those in order to render a decision to keep moving forward? So every time you pause and breathe, you are sending signals back to your brain. And our brain needs oxygen, our brain needs some hydration. And the more that you are able to give it the present moment of now, it is assessing a lot of other factors that are going on that you're not even conscious about. And so using this to your advantage can be really helpful, especially when rendering a decision. How do you figure out what is your next step to take? And just overall presence in your body, because it's responding to what is going on within your environment. And it's constantly reading cues that are going on either from other people or other participants or people in your team or your environmental surroundings. It's everywhere. So giving that brain some ability to reset every once in a while is beautiful for it and for you. So let's think about your brain's control centers. I love the neuroscience components that exist behind this. So our limbic system, so that part of your brain where I said drives some emotional behavior, it controls your emotions and your survival instincts. So this is where we have our gut reaction to things. You know, you can have all the facts and figures, but if at your gut, you're like, oh, I just don't love that. My gut is telling me, that is your limbic system kicking in. It is fast and automatic and it feels things immediately. It is reading constantly what is going on around your rooms, what is going on in the dynamics, behavior, energy. You start to pay attention to this, and it is your emotional engine. This is where we want to get clear when we're having a feeling or an emotion of some capacity. You want to get clear into, okay, I'm feeling this, and then we dig into the root cause of why. Our neural pathways are these amazing things that drive our decision making and our thoughts as like high speed communication highways. And they are amazing and can always be rewired. You just have to do it with intention, and you have to do it with presence to make sure that you're aware of what is going on to be able to code crack some of those neural pathways. So let's talk about your inner voice. So is your inner voice positive? Is your inner voice negative? Let's say you tend to be a little bit harder on yourself than others. So you want to draw some attention when you have a negative thought, because what you're going to do is then course correct it and replace that negative thought with a positive thought. And so every time that you feel that negative thought coming on, you replace it with a positive one. Sometimes it can be wearing a bracelet and touching the bracelet every single time that you have a thought that you're like, oof, don't love that. And then you think of a new one. And slowly but surely, you start to teach the brain different ways of thinking that it hadn't thought of before. And you can start pulling yourself out of having those negative thoughts and have them replaced by healthy habits, healthy thoughts that are around that surround your ideal for yourself. And this can be really helpful and impactful. Then we have the prefrontal cortex. This is our executive functioning where we process facts and figures and numbers. Very decision making and planning oriented. It likes those proof points. It likes to see the data. We want to see all of the objectivity that exists here. It's slower, but it's very analytical. And so this helps support some of the decision making that is rendered in the limbic system. So limbic system will help drive that human behavior, and the prefrontal cortex is going to come in and justify it. And it tends to respond rather than react. So just some things to think about. So I like to think of this as your limbic system ends up being that accelerator. It's very instinctual, it's emotional, it is quick to react. We want that acceleration going. Then we look at the prefrontal cortex as really figuring out how am I going to read the map and use that steering wheel. So it's going to navigate, it's going to help slow us down where we need to, and it is going to choose the direction or our intention for energy moving forward. Our goal when we're looking at the power of now and trying to focus on mindfulness is that balance that exists between these. We want to find our harmony between our emotional regulation and our frankly, our factual navigation. And we want to be able to understand both sides, understand that there can be more than one truth at the same point, and being present can really help with that from a well thought out decision making capacity. So, things to think about. All right, why this is such an advantage. Okay, when we are present and we are focused on the now, we are focusing around our senses and we're really trying to be present in our surroundings, it strengthens our prefrontal cortex. Why? Because this is where it's helping us build through our numbers and our facts and our figures and paying attention to the data and the root cause that exists within a lot of the decisions or that we need to make or a lot of the decisions that we have. It also regulates our limbic system. Quieting our emotional alarm system can be really helpful because it's going to decrease our cortisol and adrenaline levels that help us then elevate some of our other neurotransmitters that are going to give us those feel good chemicals in our own brain. And then lastly, you're helping lead with intention. And I want to really specify the intention piece because this isn't just emotional. You're actually regulating yourself and leading with intention, where I'm going to put my focused thought here. I'm going to put my energy here. I don't only have a behavioral decision to make with my behavioral action that's going to come next, but this isn't emotional. It's very logical as well. And I can justify the following as a result. So, things to think of when we look at that. So, mindfulness actually increases your efficiency because you are focusing your attention into one thing at a time and being physically present in that space. You get fewer mistakes because of your intentionality there. So, you're going to have quality over frantic quantity. And so when we start to look at what's your goal? Are you looking at efficiency? Are you looking at effectiveness? Do we want both? Or are we looking for something different? We want that efficiency component, again, quality. We want quality to be affiliated with us as our own brand. It's also, excuse me, improving your working memory. You can hold more information when you are physically present. You can hold it more clear, and by the way that you are processing information in this realm, it is going to be stored in the brain in the capacity, in a deeper capacity than it would be if you are multitasking, even if it gets stored at all. And then it helps us with a better response to our inhibition. So you can pause before reacting. And I don't know if you're a little bit like me, but sometimes I can be very feisty and I respond immediately, or my face reacts first. Oh, all of those lovely behavioral cues. So, things that we want to think about is how can we be physically present, keeping our systems calm, being very mindful of our surroundings and the decisions that we are making and the information that we have at hand to be able to make sure that if something transpires and we're going to elicit a reaction, that we have done a good job of pausing before starting that reaction and being intentional with, is this the reaction that I want to have? And what impact is that going to have on other people? Mindfulness also helps with enhanced focus. Again, if you're only doing one thing at a time, you can get into that sense of flow and really feel like time is effervescent. And we just keep going with that deeper engagement into the tasks at hand. So, the funny thing about this is presence is really the shortcut we are all racing past because we're too busy to only do one thing at a time or only be mindful and present in this very moment. Things to think about for how we do these things. So when we start to think about now, now is all we have. Now is all we've ever really had. We get anxious when we start thinking about the future and we worry about what's already gone in the past, but neither of those are productive. From an energetic standpoint, what are you going to do with your time, your talent, and your resources? Where do you want to focus that energy? There was a quote, and I love this from Van Wilder way back in like 2004, 2003, where he's like, worry is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. You need to be responsible for your energy, your resources that surround that. And so when we start to look at mindfulness, when we start to look at where we're going to place our intentionality, worrying about the future, There's a lot of anxiety that can come from that, and it's not helping you in the moment. Do we worry about the past? You've got right now. Now is where you can take the actions and start to move yourself forward. So remember, now is truly all we have. So, what are some practices that exist with this? Um, some of the practices that we have are box breathing. Breathing can reset your central nervous system so quickly. You just need to be intentional with it. So, breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Whew. Let's do some, excuse me, box breathing together. We are going to do 4 counts in. We're going to hold for 4, breathe it out for 4, and hold for 4. We're going to do a couple of rounds of this so that you can feel what box breathing feels like. So let's take it in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. Take it in and hold, out, hold. Take it in, hold, out, and hold. Take a deep breath in, exhale it out. And again, exhale it out. Sometimes that can help you reset your brain depending on everything that's going on in your day. If you don't have the ability to get up, get out of your environment, go take a quick walk, some box breathing can really help set your brain at ease and get your system kicking off in some different capacities. The next thing you can think about is your sensory check-in. Sometimes we feel ourselves being overstimulated, where it's like, oh my gosh, I cannot see another email pop up. I cannot see, I can't keep scrolling. I can't have another text message. We start to put things on silent or whatnot. And we start to get overstimulated, where it's like, oh my goodness. You might feel like this when you're in groups of people for too long as well. Sometimes our extroversion, introversion battery can also hit some of those limits. But I want you to think about this for a moment. Right now, think about, what do you see? What's behind you? Can you find something red? Do you see anything green? Do you have any flowers anywhere? What are you seeing? And then I'm going to ask you, what are you hearing outside of my voice? Can you hear the air conditioning unit? Do you have a garbage truck coming through? What are you feeling? What are you feeling in this moment? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling joyful? Can we take it to that next level? I'm feeling vibrant or vivacious, or I'm feeling joyful because the sun is out and the air is warm and we can hear birds, or what does that look like? Pay attention to your senses. And sometimes we can even go into what can you touch and what can you taste, depending on where you're at and what you're in. Just pay attention to what your senses are doing and give them a level set every once in a while, because that overstimulation, you want to figure out how to calm that sensory or that sensory reaction back. And then mindful sips and bites. Okay. People talk about this all the time about trying to eat without your phone. I want you to think about when you are going to take a drink. Join me. Hopefully, you have some water or tea or something. And we really taste the flavors of whatever we're consuming. I love you, Starbucks. And also, I don't know how many times we can't get the blonde Americano right, but to each their own. Think about this from like a tea standpoint, or maybe chocolate, really tasting the flavors that exist within the chocolate, or any food for that matter. Being mindful in eating. Can you eat without screens and be present with like tasting your food? I know it seems like a novel concept and it's not that hard, but it is when we're trying to do all of these things at once. But when we're trying to practice being here and now, it's not about how quickly you can eat your food, but we want to taste it, experience it, and help us get some satiation. Feel satiated as a result of those sensory experiences. So let's take a moment and talk about some micro mindful little moments. So we have tiny opportunities to reset ourselves and pay attention to physical presence on a regular basis. Some of the ways you can do it I definitely need to be doing my dishes right now at some point today. Those need to get done. So when you're running your hands under the water, can you feel the temperature of the water? Does it feel warm, cold, hot, you name it? And feeling that water on your hands, noticing the bubbles if there's any. So if you're going to be scrubbing dishes or plates, can you feel what is going on with your physical body during these moments? Driving, oh my goodness, shouldn't we all be physically present and emotionally present and mentally present when we're driving? We multitask so badly when we are driving, and I'm not going to say that I don't do it, but think about this. Maybe we're listening to podcasts, we're listening to a book, we are singing at the top of our lungs. Maybe we're yelling at the car ahead of us. Maybe. How often are we like physically present and mentally present and emotionally present all together collectively when we're behind the wheel of a car? It's scary how much we are distracted. There's a lot of distracted driving these days. So we also want to pay attention to what is going on that journey versus the fact that I'm driving from point A to point B. Being aware, paying attention to your surroundings. Again, not only is it a safety, but we're also trying to make sure that we are mindfully present throughout this process. And a really important one, when you're with another human being, listening deeply. So, first of all, having this guy out actually distracts from about 70% of the conversation. So, hide that, put it in your pocket, throw it in your purse, throw it in a drawer, whatever. People don't hear as much when this is physically present. Oh, and also turning it over doesn't really do anything for you either. So get it out of sight, out of mind. Your goal when you're listening deeply is to be in the now and paying attention to the presence. Pay attention to your body language. Oh, excuse me, body language that exists throughout this. So if you are trying to listen deeply to someone else, are you paying attention to their eyes? Making eye contact, paying attention to the color of their eyes, nodding, giving subtle cues that you hear what they're saying, using some type of reflective language, maybe 3 to 5 words of whatever they have been communicating to you. What about your physical body? Are your arms crossed or are they open? Do you have your hands displayed on a table or not? Are your shoulders open and down? Are your legs crossed? Are they not? Paying attention is listening deeply beyond just the words that are being said, but also in how you are receiving the information that this person is sharing with you. Especially when it's deeply innate, we want to match up our shoulders to theirs. We want to make that eye contact and we want to stay open, knowing that to that person, we are indicating that we are receiving what they are saying to us. Then if we can add in those vocalics with it, paying attention in a kind tone that reiterates some of those words that they have spoken to us, this can be really helpful along the way. These aren't throwaway moments. These are your moments throughout a day that can be really impactful. Okay, let's take a quick, I want you to stand up. And I want you to pay attention to your body mechanics for a second before we move into the relationships. When we are seated, it's very important that you keep your chest open. Same thing when you're standing too. Keep those shoulders back and down. Keep your collarbone open nice and wide, especially when we're talking to someone else, and pay attention to how your feet are directed. Are they directed at the person? Are they turning away? Are you turning towards the side? Pay attention to all of this because this is actually active listening in its truest form is paying attention from the top down and being mindful from the inside out, especially of your body mechanics surrounding this. So let's keep going. Let's move on into the power of now in relationships. Okay, listening without interrupting sounds so easy, but we get really excited. And when you're really engaged in a conversation, sometimes we want to interrupt. There is a beautiful element of being present and listening to understand versus to respond. Not thinking about, okay, well, when that person's story is over, it's my turn to talk because my story is even better than yours. Being fully present, we just talked about this. The phone is a big deal. We've got to make sure that it is not around, or at least put it in a drawer, doing what you say you're going to do with this, being present. You want those, when you put a phone out, it shows to someone else that there's something else going on, or there might be something that's more important that somebody can interrupt you, and that intentional time that you're spending with someone really isn't as valuable as one would think. You're looking to develop that deeper empathy from a feeling standpoint. And again, you don't Empathy is meeting people where they are at and understanding their emotions around a situation. It is not a cause for judgment, and we are not offering sympathy. But what we are doing is we're trying to understand their mental capacity around something, and then we're going to mirror our body language to theirs so that they know that we are understanding what they're talking about. This all helps strengthen our human connection components that create a safe and productive, comfortable space for authentic sharing. It matters when you shut somebody down in one of these situations. Maybe you turn your body off or you're paying attention more on your phone than what you're doing in the moment. This can really deter people. And once you shut them down, it's really hard to get them back. So, some things to think about. So, I'm going to invite you into this moment, and I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to do this. We're going to start with right now, in this moment, I feel, and then I want you to write down an answer. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds for that, and we'll move on to the next. So if you want to go ahead and pull out a piece of paper, I am going to join you in this little journey here, and we're going to begin. So just let your pencil or your pen just come to the table on that piece of paper, and I just want you to let it write. And I'm only going to ask you to do this for about 30 seconds, and then we'll move on to the next thing, but just see what comes up for you. A lot of times it's not done in our cognitive centers or that prefrontal cortex. We need to access a different part of our brain, and writing can help you do that. So let's go ahead and begin. 30 seconds. In this moment, I feel. All right. Now let's move on to the next prompt. The next prompt, right now, I am grateful for, and just start to list. Minimum goal in this 30-second time period is 3 items. So right now, I am grateful for, go ahead and begin. All right. Next journal prompt. One thing I notice about my surroundings is, so go ahead and take stock in wherever you're seated right now. Maybe you're outside, maybe you're in an office. What do you notice about your surroundings? Are they depicting of you? What is the first thing that comes to mind? Let yourself just write. You have 30 seconds to begin. One thing I notice about my surroundings is. All right. Next up. Oops. Last, my body is telling me. This is where we're being really physically present in this moment and connecting all of those components together. So let's start this. 30 seconds. My body is telling me what? All right, moving on. All right, sometimes our body is telling us, I need movement, I need some water, I need better nutrition. If you are starting to get a headache, always start out with some water. That might be it. You might be feeling overstimulated. Maybe you've had too many things going on today. Maybe you've been around people too much. Pay attention. Your body is reading signals all the time. It's reading energy and it is communicating with you in a variety of forms. So pay attention to what's being said so that you can respond accordingly. Sometimes we just need a brief moment of giving ourselves some clarity around a situation in order to really take the best step forward. So let's talk about this mindful living as mindful leading. When we practice presence, we lead with more integrity and heart, which can be really great for professional and personal settings. So I want you to think about this. When we are leading with integrity, we are being very true to ourselves. We are focused on what is going on and what is surrounding the people that we are with as well. And we're able to read and figure out what's going on within their lives and how we can help and what we need to do and problem solving and focused and doing all of these things and also understanding that we're human along the process. When we are mindful and very physically present and mentally present and emotionally available, it helps create psychological safety within our teams. It helps create this cone of comfort or this the ability for people to be able to open up because it is enhancing your team dynamics because people know that you're listening. They know that you're there and there is a different type of presence that is existing in your leadership capacity. We're also looking to foster innovation. And when people know that idea sharing is being done with people who are being very intentional with their time, it creates a beautiful space for creativity and for these ideas to be shared and then built upon and have some beautiful ideation along the way. And then lastly, oh my gosh, does it improve communication? Because we're listening to understand, not to respond. And that is a really beautiful space of allowing that to happen so that we can really hear people's thoughts in a clear manner and then look to respond as a result of this. So when we are mindful and we are showing up in this capacity where we don't look like we're busy all the time or we're too busy for our people or we are multitasking and not paying attention or not giving full undivided attention, it can really be a detriment to our organizational culture and to our leadership capacity and our capabilities. So I want you to think about how you are going to utilize some of this. So your daily presence, how are you going to make this a plan? Because it doesn't take much to actually start rewiring your brain, and your body will crave this. Your mind will crave this when you start getting going because you're going to realize the superpower that exists as a result of this. So I want you to think about doing grounding, a morning grounding. Maybe it's 5 minutes of silence. You don't have to do anything. Yes, meditation can be great, but also morning grounding can be just sitting and observing for 5 minutes, letting your mind do what it needs to do and letting the ability of it to flow and grow. Then in the middle of your day, give yourself a 3-minute pause. Just 3 minutes and let your mind just go. We are so innate at like continuing and going and going and going and build and do and achieve and succeed and da, 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 da. And we go through this burnout culture. In the middle of your day, give yourself 3 minutes to simply breathe and pause. Maybe you do some box breathing, maybe you do a meditation, maybe you just give yourself 3 minutes to sit there in silence. It can be pretty powerful. And lastly, maybe doing some type of evening reflection. Maybe it's journaling, being aware of what has happened throughout your day. Maybe it's an intentional conversation about what has gone well today or how did today go. Maybe you just have it with yourself. I know before I fall asleep at night, I like to go through 3 good things that have happened throughout my day. And then I fall asleep on reflecting upon those things. So if you start to do this on a regular basis, your mind and your body will crave it. And so it becomes innate. And it doesn't mean it has to be a checklist, but now it becomes embodied into your lifestyle. And it can become that lifestyle, not a checklist. So, lastly, I want you to think about some invitations to slow down and some ways to do this in a way that can be really joyful and not feel like a lot of effort. Walk in nature without a distraction. Leave your phone if you can and just go get outside. Breathe in the wonderful oxygen, walk in trees, what I like to call green therapy, especially as it's now spring and summer and we've got all these blooms everywhere. Hopefully your allergies aren't acting up. But there is such a beautiful healing space that exists through nature that the more that you can get out there, the better it can feel for you and can really help revitalize your soul and make sure that you are physically present and one with nature. It can be a wonderful therapist for you. Then doing a mindful cup ritual. Maybe you are a big tea fan. All right. What about the process of creating the tea or maybe coffee if that's your jam? Whatever it is, we want try and create a ritual around that where you're paying attention to the smell. You are really savoring the warmth. The taste is a bonus, but really it's the ritual that exists around that. Then reading. A lot of times we are speeding up that Audible and trying to go as fast as possible to get through a book. But what about if we slowed down and we let the words land within us so that we could resonate and process and really absorb what's going on? And then lastly, music, just the sound to listen to. It can enhance your mood. You can make you want to just move that body, feel great, enhancing your overall mood, but no multitasking with it. What about if you just listened to music? What would that feel like for you? So here's some easy ways. And you know what? Incorporate one a day. Get up and go for a walk. Maybe that's your 3 minute midday ritual where you just get outside, take a quick lap, and come back in. Maybe your mindful cup ritual is first thing in the morning where you're going to be very present and you're going to make yourself a wonderful cup of tea. Maybe reading is how you unwind at night, or maybe it's just listening to music. Maybe listening to music just in your office before you head out for the day. Whatever that is, just got to figure out what those areas can be that can really help you reprogram. And again, when I'm looking at how to be very present in the here and now, my goal is to reduce my cortisol and adrenaline levels and really amp up maybe my endorphins, my oxytocin, um, my serotonin or my dopamine. So, depending on what you're doing and where you're going, that's the goal. How do I start to be more present and really enjoy what I am doing in the here and now instead of constantly trying to go, 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 and continue on this crazy cycle that we call as life? All right. So, the idea is that while we are physically present and we're mentally present and we're emotionally available, this is intention. You don't need to retreat for this. This is just making conscious little tiny shifts throughout your day. These little tiny moments are the micro moments that matter. It is the pauses between inhaling your food during a lunch hour, maybe putting your fork down and just enjoying the fact, paying attention to the scenery, listening to the dynamics that are going on around you. Take a deep breath before you reply in a meeting. Let that intentionality sit for a moment. It can help you appear more confident and not as emotional from a responding standpoint of you maybe being more proactive in your approach or your demeanor in a meeting. And then take that quiet cup. Maybe it's a tea, maybe it's coffee, whatever, before the whole day breaks. But be intentional with it. Enjoy it, savor it. And just start with one. All you got to do is one small habit change for tomorrow. That's all I'm asking for you. So think about this. The fire of your light is lit by your presence. You are in charge of your energy. And so, what are you doing to refuel that? And being present in the here and now is the most important piece of your presence overall. So, let's think about how you are refueling that and utilizing it to your fullest advantage. Joy is found in the present, in those present moments of looking up and hearing a bird or being out in the sunlight. I feel like a plant when I'm outside. I'm like, oh, I'm growing towards the sunlight. But we're looking at the here and now, not what's coming tomorrow or what's already happened, what's going on right now. And when you return to now, your body ends up being at peace. So think about it this way. What's one word that you can take with you that is going to be your key word to keep you going through these beautiful moments in these beautiful spaces today? So with that, I'm going to turn you loose and let you figure out what is going to be your highlight for the day. Figure out one practice or one word that you can take with you to move forward from the here and now into the beautiful life that you live for tomorrow. Thank you very much. I am Dr. Claire Musselman, and this has been a Bloom Masterclass series. You can find more on the Bloom Vault and also check out the articles that support this, as well as the supplemental materials. Thank you so much.